Do you have a loud kid? It's more common than you might think. Having a kid who consistently speaks at a higher volume than called for in the situation, nearly yelling when they're in a quiet room, or sometimes kiddos are less consistently loud, but when they get excited or angry, that's when their volume goes way above the normal range. This can be embarrassing, can make you worry about how your child will be treated socially, and just plain give you a headache. Today, I'm going to outline the steps for a simple action plan that can have meaningful, lasting change for helping your child get their volume under control. Before we get started, I just want to note that it's a good idea to speak with your pediatrician to ensure that your child has no hearing issues that might be affecting how they perceive the loudness of their voice. Assuming that checks out, let's move on to the action plan. First up, you're going to hold a family meeting. Yes, you want to involve the whole family in this action plan. Now, could this be a little embarrassing for your child? Yes, but the whole family already knows about the issue, and the plan will work much better if you get everyone involved. Just approach it with sensitivity so that your child doesn't feel embarrassed or overwhelmed. Now, if you're new to family meetings, I have a free downloadable handout with essential tips for holding a successful family meeting. You can grab your copy at drlindsayemmerson.com/meeting, and I'll pop that link in the description below. Now, once you understand the concept of the family meeting and you're ready to roll, you're going to gather the whole family. And the most important thing to keep in mind here is that you're using unconditional positive regard. So you love, support, and accept your child. And you accept that this is an issue of theirs. And you separate this issue from their worth. So just because they're a loud kid doesn't make them a bad kid. It's just a behavior, speaking loudly, that is worth giving some feedback. So first what you want to do is explain why it's worth focusing on this behavior, why it's worth making the change. And you might mention things like social repercussions, that you worry that sometimes they might not be as accepted by their peers if they continue to use this loud voice. You might mention that it's taxing to spend a lot of time with them because the loud volume can actually give you a headache, and that you want to spend time with them and you want to make that enjoyable time together. And maybe you even have other data. Maybe other people have mentioned how loud your child is. I know a couple of my kids have each had a friend who was quite loud, and it was actually challenging in carpooling situations because the other kids didn't want to be in the car with this child. And so it is helpful to have some of that feedback and just be able to say, hey, I think, it'd be easier for Mrs. Smith if we worked on our voice volume, at least in the car, and giving some feedback in that way. You can even mention things like, well, it just helps to keep everybody around us more calm. Sometimes loud voices, even if they're happy voices, just kind of make people feel stressed. Just like if you hear a loud noise, you turn and wonder what it is, and you have that immediate reaction, and that can just be a little bit stressful. So if we all use a little calmer, softer voices, everybody can be a little more relaxed. Now, in your family meeting, the next thing to do is to develop visual reminders that you can use for quick feedback. So you're going to sit down with your child and say, what would be a non-obtrusive way for me to just remind you of this if I notice that your voice is getting a little higher, and come up with a plan. Maybe it's, a little shush, or maybe it's a little lower the volume, or maybe it's a tap on the ear. And a really subtle gesture can be helpful because then they're comfortable with you using it in public, not just at home. And so coming up together with the agreed upon plan, everybody in the family knows. And so when necessary, they can give that little cue, right? So in this first step of the action plan, we're getting the whole family on board here to work as a team to support your child in making this meaningful change that will set them up for success. Now, before we move on to the second step in the action plan, my analytics show me that about 94% of you enjoy watching my videos but are not subscribed to my channel. So if you're enjoying this video, consider hitting the subscribe button so it's easier for you to find more of my videos in the future. On to step 2 of our action plan. Just as important as developing the plan and getting the whole family on board is how you follow through on the plan. So what you really want to focus on here is consistently providing feedback to speed up the learning process. The more consistent you can be, the faster your child will learn to make this change. Now, it's a delicate balance because you don't want them to become overly conscientious about their voice volume, and you don't want them to become annoyed by how often they're hearing the feedback. So you want to make sure that you're using those gentle reminders, maybe just that little visual cue. Maybe there's not even a verbal component to it most of the time, whether you're at home or away. And make sure that you're not nagging or making them feel like they've really let you down by being loud again. Just think of it as a learning process. They just need little reminders. And the more consistent you can be, the more quickly they'll make change. And positive reinforcement is going to be a huge benefit here. So when you notice that they're using a soft voice, or when you notice that they responded quickly to your little reminder, you can praise them and say, wow, great job, or oh, that's a perfect volume. And after the fact, if they wrap up a play date and you notice that that whole play date was at a lower volume, you can say, wow, did you notice how well you did with controlling your voice volume during the play date? And take the opportunities to praise them, to reinforce that behavior. It makes it more likely to happen again in the future. So with time, patience, and consistency, using your gentle reminder and pairing it with positive feedback will help your kiddo learn the right volume for speaking. I hope these tips quickly help your household become a more peaceful place. And if you're interested in learning more about how to speak intentionally to your child, my next video talks all about how your tone creates or destroys trust in your parent-child relationship. Keep up the good work on your amazing parenting journey.